What's up, guys? I wanted to jump on here and talk about a neat film that I discovered, and it's called At the Drive-In. It's a documentary that was released in 2017, and it tells the story of the Mahoning Drive-In. Now, this is a drive-in theater that's located in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. Now, what was happening there is around 2015, 2016, Hollywood stopped producing 35 millimeter prints for theaters to show to the public. And they pretty much have gone all digital with their releases. And this drive-in wasn't able to purchase an expensive digital projector because there's something like $50,000 to $100,000 to buy these professional grade projectors for theaters. And this little theater in like rural Pennsylvania that has like one screen, this drive-in theater, they just couldn't afford it. They weren't doing the kind of business that was able to make that upgrade. And they were actually using old Simplex 35 millimeter projectors from when the place first opened in the late 40s. That's all they had. So what this documentary tells is the story about how a group of film fans and just film enthusiasts who discovered this drive-in and kind of fell in love with it, they figured out a way to save the drive-in by switching to a format that was only showing retro 35 millimeter prints of films rather than the new releases coming out of Hollywood that would require a digital projection. And by kind of making this a retro theater, they were able to figure out a way to promote to fans who like classic stuff and create like different events and just do different promotional things to start bringing people into the theater to have that retro experience. And by doing that, they were able to just bring the audience back to this theater and save it. And I'm here to tell you, that to me is a great story. It's a fascinating story. I just love that whole idea. Now, to back up a little bit, I want to talk about the idea of drive-in theaters and my thoughts on them. I love drive-in theaters. I was born in the 70s and was a kid brought up in the 80s, and I have vivid memories of going to the drive-in in my local area. My family would just go to them pretty regularly through the 80s. So if you think about movies like Indiana Jones and Empire Strikes Back and Aliens and Conan and just movies from that era, I saw those at the drive-in as I was growing up. So today, I actually have a couple within driving distance of where I live. They're starting to come back. But really in this country, there's only something like 300 drive-ins left. I'm lucky that I have a couple here where I live in Northeast Ohio within driving distance. But they don't do what the Mahoning Drive-In Theater is doing. They show the most recent Hollywood blockbusters with a digital projector like most theaters do, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to circle back to the idea of the Mahoning and the story that you get from this documentary At the Drive-In, and the idea of them building a business around showing prints of classic and retro movies. I love that. I'm the type of person that really wishes that classic films would be shown in theaters more than they are. If there was a theater around me that showed classic movies all the time, I guarantee you I would be there often. Now, unfortunately, the Mahoning Drive-In, I've looked it up, and they're a good 6-hour drive from where I live. So as I'm recording this, it's late September, and their season's going to end in October. So I am not going to be able to get out there this season, but I am already planning my trip for next year, and I have plans to go out there. Because even though I have a local drive-in theater, it doesn't do what they're doing. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So 35 millimeter prints. there's something different about that than what you're going to get with a digital projector. They put it in these big simplex projectors, like I mentioned, that are 70 years old, that require changeover. So you got to have a projectionist thread the film through. You got to have them changing reels every 10 minutes or so. And you got to have somebody there that's skilled in doing that. It's a skill. It's not just something anyone can do. And they're keeping that alive at the Mahoning. And I just think that's great. And I looked it up, and they are the only drive-in theater in the country that's doing this. They're the only drive-in theater that is still showing prints of 35 millimeter film and running it through a projector that has to do changeovers. And that to me is something worth noting, and that's something I think that stands out, because you just can't get that experience at your local cinema, or if you have drive-ins close to me like I do, you just can't get that experience. And I wanted to just kind of jump on here and let you know about this film, and I really recommend it. So it is on Amazon Prime, and it's actually free there. You got to watch ads, which is fine, but you can watch this film for free on Amazon Prime, or you can rent it if you want to. And it's just a great story. I just really like the passion that the folks in the story are showing. You can tell they love film, they love classic film, and they just found and discovered this theater that was struggling, and they put their minds together and came up with cool ways to make people come back to it. And I love that. I think that's amazing. I'm kind of jealous that it's 6 hours away from me, and I'm jealous of anyone that lives a lot closer than that, because if I lived close to this place, I guarantee you I would probably be frequenting it on a regular basis. It's neat. But again, At the Drive-In, check it out. If you are interested in classic retro film at all, it's definitely something you want to check out. If you're interested in drive-in theaters, if you have any nostalgia for that or memories of them like I do, then it's something you want to check out. And if you just want a story about underdogs, creative people, passionate people that find a problem and they come up with an ingenious way to solve that problem, if you just like stories like this, then that's definitely something you want to check out, because that's the story we're getting. It's a true story. It's a documentary. They actually inspired me recently to go to my local drive-in theater, and I was lucky. They were showing retro stuff that night, so I got to see Beetlejuice and the Addams Family from the early 90s, and I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I haven't actually been to my local drive-ins in a long time, but this has inspired me to kind of do that a little bit more going forward. Again, the season here is going to be ending soon, but next summer, look for me to do that. And like I said, I am already planning my trip to the Mahoning. I want to watch a double feature on 35 millimeter film, and I want to just see the place where this documentary was shot, and maybe meet some of the people that were involved. That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to doing that. And when I do, I will likely make a video and I will post it here, because I just think it's a cool story and it's a neat place. And I highly recommend you check out the Mahoning Drive-In on their social media. They have a podcast. I started listening to that. It's really interesting. If you want to know how a drive-in like this functions, they talk about it a lot in their podcast, and I recommend that. Otherwise, just check out their socials, because they are always posting these cool retro themes they're doing. They'll do Christmas in July, or they'll do a night of films all about road rage and horror movies set on the road, or they'll do family nights, or they'll do just different themes, and it's great. Anything that can be done to preserve the integrity of classic films and get people interested in coming out and experiencing retro films, I'm all for that. If you look at my channel, you can see I'm all about the classics. I love the retros. That stuff is just great to me. I love to keep the legend of that alive as much as I can on my little section of the internet here. But what they're doing at that drive-in is just neat. And I wanted to get on the channel here and just tell you about it. Definitely check out At the Drive-In. They got a great story, and I just want to spread the word about it because it's really cool. All right, thanks again for taking the time to watch. I appreciate it. I will be coming back at you with some classic reviews very soon. And until then, have a good one.